Hey family, this is day 22 of our Reading Through the Bible in a Year Together series. Today we're covering Exodus chapters 19 through 21. Now, where we are leading up into this point is that Israel has been saved from Egypt, crossed through the Sea of Reeds, big song from Moses and Miriam about all the wonderful things, and then they travel through the wilderness some on their way to Mount Sinai. And so today is when they arrive at Mount Sinai. Let's see what happens. In the 3rd month after the children of Israel went out from Egypt, on the same day they came into the wasteland of Sinai. And when they had gone away from Rephidim and had come into the wasteland of Sinai, they put up their tents in the wasteland before the mountain. There Israel put up its tents. And Moshe went up to God, and the voice of the Lord came to him from the mountain, saying, "Say to the family of Yaakov, and give word to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I took you, as on eagle's wings, guiding you to myself. If now you will truly give ear to my voice, and keep my agreement, you will be my treasure out of all the peoples. For all the earth is mine, and you will be a kingdom of priests to me, and a holy nation. These are the words which you are to say to the children of Israel." And Moshe came and sent for the chiefs of the people, and put before them all these words which the Lord had given him orders to say. And all the people, answering together, said, "Whatever the Lord has said, we will do." And Moshe took back to the Lord the words of the people. And the Lord said to Moshe, "See, I will come to you in a thick cloud, so that what I say to you may come to the ears of the people, and they may have belief in you forever." And Moshe gave the Lord word of what the people had said. And the Lord said to Moshe, "Go to the people, and make them holy today and tomorrow, and let their clothing be washed. And by the 3rd day let them be ready, for on the 3rd day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people. And let limits be marked out for the people round the mountain, and say to them, Take care not to go up the mountain or near the sides of it. Whoever puts his foot on the mountain will certainly come to his death. He is not to be touched by a hand, but is to be stoned or have an arrow put through him. Man or beast he is to be put to death. At the long sounding of a horn they may come up to the mountain." Then Moshe went down from the mountain to the people, and made the people holy, and their clothing was washed. And he said to the people, "Be ready by the 3rd day, do not come near a woman." And when morning came on the 3rd day, there were thunders and flames, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and a horn sounding very loud, and all the people in the tents were shaking with fear. And Moshe made the people come out of their tents and take their places before God, and they came to the foot of the mountain. And all the mountain of Sinai was smoking, for the Lord had come down on it in fire. And the smoke of it went up like the smoke of a great burning, and all the mountain was shaking. And when the sound of the horn became louder and louder, Moshe's words were answered by the voice of God. Then the Lord came down onto Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain, and the Lord sent for Moshe to come up to the top of the mountain, and Moshe went up. And the Lord said to Moshe, "Go down and give the people orders to keep back, for fear that a great number of them, forcing their way through to see the Lord, may come to destruction. And let the priests who come near to the Lord make themselves holy, for fear that the Lord may come on them suddenly." And Moshe said to the Lord, "The people will not be able to come up the mountain, for you gave us orders to put limits round the mountain, marking it out and making it holy." And the Lord said to him, "Go down, and you and Aaron may come up, but let not the priests and the people make their way through to the Lord, or he will come on them suddenly." So Moshe went down to the people and said this to them. And God said all these words, "I am the Lord your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the prison house. You are to have no other gods but me. You are not to make an image or picture of anything in heaven or on the earth, or in the waters under the earth. You may not go down on your faces before them or give them worship. For I, the Lord your God, am a God who will not give his honor to another. And I will send punishment on the children for the wrongdoing of their fathers, to the 3rd and 4th generation of my haters. And I will have mercy through 1,000 generations on those who have love for me and keep my laws. You are not to make use of the name of the Lord your God for an evil purpose. Whoever takes the Lord's name for an evil purpose will be judged a sinner by the Lord. Keep in memory the Shabbat, and let it be a holy day. On 6 days do all your work, but the 7th day is a Shabbat to the Lord your God. On that day you are to do no work, you or your son or your daughter, your manservant or your womanservant, your cattle or the man from a strange country who is living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and the sea and everything in them, and he took rest on the 7th day. For this reason the Lord has given his blessing to the 7th day, and made it holy. Give honor to your father and to your mother, so that your life may be long in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Do not put anyone to death without cause. Do not be false to the married relation. Do not take the property of another. Do not give false witness against your neighbor. Let not your desire be turned on your neighbor's house, or his wife, or his manservant, or his womanservant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything which is his. And all the people were watching the thunderings, and the flames, and the sound of the horn, and the mountain smoking. And when they saw it, they kept far off, shaking with fear. And they said to Moshe, To your words we will give ear, but let not the voice of God come to our ears, for fear death may come on us. And Moshe said to the people, Have no fear, for God has come to put you to the test, so that fearing him you may be kept from sin. And the people kept their places far off, but Moshe went near to the dark cloud where God was. And the Lord said to Moshe, Say to the children of Israel, You yourselves have seen that my voice has come to you from heaven. Gods of silver and gods of gold you are not to make for yourselves. Make for me an altar of earth, offering on it your burned offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I have put the memory of my name, I will come to you and give you my blessing. And if you make me an altar of stone, do not make it of cut stones, for the touch of an instrument will make it unclean. And do not go up by steps to my altar, for fear that your bodies may be seen uncovered. Now these are the laws which you are to put before them. If you get a Hebrew servant for money, he is to be your servant for 6 years, and in the 7th year you are to let him go, free, without payment. If he comes to you by himself, let him go away by himself. If he is married, let his wife go away with him. If his master gives him a wife, and he gets sons or daughters by her, the wife and her children will be the property of the master, and the servant is to go away by himself. But if the servant says clearly, My master and my wife and children are dear to me, I have no desire to be free, then his master is to take him to the gods of the house, and at the door, or at its framework, he is to make a hole in his ear with a sharp-pointed instrument, and he will be his servant forever. And if a man gives his daughter for a price to be a servant, she is not to go away free as the men servants do. If she is not pleasing to her master, who has taken her for himself, let a payment be made for her, so that she may go free. Her master has no power to get a price for her and send her to a strange land, because he has been false to her. And if he gives her to his son, he is to do everything for her as if she was his daughter. And if he takes another woman, her food and clothing and her married rights are not to be less. And if he does not do these 3 things for her, she has the right to go free without payment. He who gives a man a death blow is himself to be put to death. But if he had no evil purpose against him, and God gave him into his hand, I will give you a place to which he may go in flight. But if a man makes an attack on his neighbor on purpose, to put him to death by deceit, you are to take him from my altar and put him to death. Any man who gives a blow to his father or his mother is certainly to be put to death. Any man who gets another into his power in order to get a price for him is to be put to death, if you take him in the act. Any man cursing his father or his mother is to be put to death. If, in a fight, one man gives another a blow with a stone, or with a shut hand, not causing his death, but making him keep in bed, if he is able to get up again and go about with a stick, the other will be left off. Only he will have to give him payment for the loss of his time, and see that he is cared for until he is well. If a man gives his manservant or womanservant blows with a rod, causing death, he is certainly to undergo punishment. But at the same time, if the servant goes on living for a day or 2, the master is not to get punishment, for the servant is his property. If men, while fighting, do damage to a woman with child, causing the loss of the child, but no other evil comes to her, the man will have to make payment up to the amount fixed by her husband, in agreement with the decision of the judges. But if damage comes to her, let life be given in payment for life. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, blow for blow. If a man gives his manservant or his womanservant a blow in the eye, causing its destruction, he is to let him go free on account of the damage to his eye. Or if the loss of a tooth is caused by his blow, he will let him go free on account of his tooth. If an ox comes to be the cause of death to a man or a woman, the ox is to be stoned, and its flesh may not be used for food, but the owner will not be judged responsible. But if the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and the owner has had a word of it and has not kept it under control, so that it has been the cause of the death of a man or a woman, not only is the ox to be stoned, but its owner is to be put to death. If a price is put on his life, let him make payment of whatever price is fixed. If the death of a son or of a daughter has been caused, the punishment is to be in agreement with this rule. If the death of a manservant or of a womanservant is caused by the ox, the owner is to give their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox is to be stoned. If a man makes a hole in the earth without covering it up, and the ox or a donkey dropping into it comes to its death, the owner of the hole is responsible. He will have to make payment to their owner, but the dead beast will be his. And if one man's ox does damage to another man's ox, causing its death, then the living ox is to be exchanged for money, and the division made of the price of it, and of the price of the dead one. But if it is common knowledge that the ox has frequently done such damage in the past, and its owner has not kept it under control, he will have to give ox for ox, and the dead beast will be his. So today was a couple big chapters, chapter 19 and chapter 20, right? Chapter 19 is where God tells the people of Israel, hey, I'm going to be your God, and I'll lift you up on eagle's wings, just like I did out of Egypt. But I will be your God if you will be my people. And Israel says, yes, we will do what you say. And that's kind of the introduction to the covenant. Will you be mine? Yes, I will. A little bit of a marriage and betrothal imagery going on here. But then in chapter 20, the beginning, is the big 10. We talk about them all the time, right? You shall not this, you shall not that, you shall do this, you shall do that, right? These big 10 commandments are huge for the history of, everything. Some of the biggest ones. And these 10 commandments, you may not understand the Shabbat one or think that Jesus said that no longer applies, and there's a long conversation involved with that I'd be willing to have. But these big 10, most people have no issue with, right? These laws are easy to understand. But once it continues on from here, especially in chapter 21 and following, which we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, is these other laws about servants and oxen and payment and servant girls and all these different things. And you look at them from our perspective, these are super weird, but put them in their context. Think about a world where there's no police and there's no designated right or wrong, and civilizations are really built on a might makes right personality. And once you start taking the historical context into account, some of the laws, you can actually look past the letter of the law and look into the spirit of the law, which is what Jesus does in Matthew chapter 15. So read through it again and think about some of these things and how they really take the culture of the time and move them forward. And think about these things and have a wonderful day.